Hey guys, welcome back to another great game of CEDH. Today we are back with the full Dead on Board crew, and man, this game was played after the holiday, and I'm so glad to be back. Also, if you're interested in playing with us, hop on our Discord. We have an ever-growing community and we'll love to talk MTG or whatever strikes our fancy. And another benefit is we often let people know when we play, and would love to meet some new people. Alright, block there, kill that. Oh, that is trample. Guess I'm just dead on board. Starting us off is a new deck to the channel. Fernando has recently fell in love with this new commander, Jacob Hauken, and his take on a mono blue taking turns list. That lets you use Jacob's front side for early game card advantage, while relying on his flip side for some insane card advantage with those free spells. And while the deck is a little fragile, I was impressed as I had totally overlooked this commander when he was spoiled. Next up, we have Jimmy on Kalamax. And while Kalamax has made a few appearances on the channel, I know any deck Jimmy brings always has a signature spice added to it. But the core of the deck is still Kalamax, turn sideways, get swole, and copy some spells, with a classic Underworld Breach Rain Freeze win con. In the third spot, we have mtga loots with Tymna Tana. This deck is otherwise known as Blood Pod, and is what's known as a meta crusher deck. It's a stax deck that is highly customizable to what you want to hate on. Its goal is to grind the game to a halt and gain advantage while you know the stax pieces that are coming. Tuned to a specific meta, it can often hold the entire table down, but only if tuned properly. And bringing up the rear, we have Hidden Planet X and Belbe. And this is big mana Belbe, and is a copied list from the 99, which I'll have linked in the corner, and it's a great reference. Patrick really did a good job going into a lot of detail explaining the deck. But without further ado, let's get on to the gameplay. Jimmy actually has a pregame effect as he puts a Gemstone Cavern into play, exiling a forest. Fernando starts off the game with an Urza Saga, and uses it for a Codex Shredder. Jimmy has a City of Brass, and keeps his foot on the pedal as he casts a Mana Crypt, a Carpet of Flowers, and a Birds of Paradise. Lutz plays a Bayou as land, and enchants it with a Wild Growth. Hidden has a Command Tower, and has one of his best turn 1 plays with a Pulse Tracker. And at his end step, Fernando uses his Shredder to mill Hidden for 1. Fernando draws and gains another counter on his Saga. He plays an island and uses it to help cast his commander, Jacob Hauken. Jimmy untaps and loses his Crypt Trigger. He plays a mountain and uses his carpet mana to help cast Kalamax. Lutz has a Luxury Suite and taps 2 for a Dockside. It resolves and gains 4 treasures on ETB. He then cracks 2 treasures for a Demonic Tutor and spends the last of his mana for a Goblin Sharpshooter. Hidden plays a Swamp as land and really doesn't like what he has in his hand. He ends up casting Belbe, but skips through combat, not having anything to cast. And at his end step, Fernando mills Lutz with his Shredder. Fernando draws and gains his 3rd lore counter on his Saga. He floats a colorless and sacrifices it to search out a Soul Ring. Fernando has another island and casts a Rhystic Study. This does prompt a response from Hidden, as he casts a Deadly Rollick to exile Kalamax. Jimmy wins his Crypt Trigger and activates his Carpet for 2 green to help recast his Dino. Lutz untaps and plays a Spectator Seeding his land. He then starts tapping mana and casts an Avacyn's Pilgrim and pays for the Rhystic, but follows it up with the Sylvan Library, not paying the tax this time. He looks to see if there are any open attacks, and seeing none, passes to Hidden. Hidden untaps and plays a Mana Confluence as land. He then heads to combat, and seeing the table not have any responses, swings his Tracker at Fernando, which on attack pings the table for 1. Fernando doesn't block, and on Hidden's second main he gets 6 colorless from Belbe, and Lutz realizes he should have killed the Tracker before that. Hidden uses his colorless to help him cast a Regal Behemoth, paying 1 for the study. The Dino resolves, and Hidden becomes the Monarch. Hidden, not having much else to do, decides to Demonic Tutor, and thankfully due to the Dino's double mana, can pay for the Rhystic again. Fernando does have a response as he mills Hidden another card, but Hidden then searches out a card, and after that, Fernando taps his commander to draw and exile a card from his hand. Fernando untaps and plays another island, and taps 3 for a Solve the Equation. He ends up settling for a capture of Jinzhou. and at his end step, Lutz taps his goblin sharpshooter to kill the birds. Jimmy does tap it for mana, and then kill the pulse tracker, with Jimmy afterwards casting a Thrill of Possibility, letting Fernando draw off the heuristic, and having Jimmy discard Jeweled Lotus for 2 fresh cards.
Alright, on my end still, I'm gonna tap 2 blue. I'm gonna cast Snap targeting the Dino.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, both Dinos! That's
Oh,
funny.
they're both dinos.
Yeah.
That's
Which
What
one?
are the odds?
What are the odds? Yeah, I
No,
mean...
that's a lizard.
I'm pretty sure they
No,
changed
he's
that
not
to
lizard.
be
No,
dinos.
he's a
Rotted
Dino. He's
to
a Dino.
Dino.
Yeah, I gotta do it to Steve because he gets double mana. And he has a combo piece most likely in hand.
Jimmy rolls for his crypt and is safe for turn. He plays an Exotic Orchard as land, and then turns his Kalamax sideways at Hidden, who doesn't block. But before damage, Jimmy ends up casting a Hunter's Insight to gain a counter on Kalamax and get a second copy of the spell. He then pays for the heuristic and gets to draw 10 cards and gain the Monarch from Hidden. And man, do I think Fernando bounced the wrong Dino. On his second main, Jimmy then activates his carpet for 3 green and uses it for a Sylvan Library, paying for the heuristic. He then ends his turn discarding down due to hand size. Lutz goes to his turn and triggers his library, and pays 8 to keep 2 extra cards. He has a Bountiful Promenade as land, and tries to cast a Grand Abolisher. He debates paying for the heuristic, ends up paying the tax. This gives off a red flag to Fernando, who responds with a Force of Will, exiling the tutored Capture of Jinzhou. The Abolisher is countered, and Lutz then follows it up with his commander Tymna. He doesn't pay the tax and heads to combat. Lutz has an easy swing at his dockside at Jimmy, who takes the hit, with Lutz now becoming the Monarch. And on his second main, he not only gains 6 mana off Belbe, 2 for hurting himself, 2 for attacking Jimmy, and 2 since Fernando needed to pay a life for the Force of Will, but he also gets a card off Tymna. Although Lutz didn't realize he was going to get all that mana, and actually lets it fizzle as he goes to his end step to draw a card from being the Monarch. Hidden starts by cracking a Verdant Catacombs to grab a Bayou. He then heads to combat and sends Belbe at Fernando, who takes the hit, and on a second main, Hidden gains 2 colorless and decides to try and make an impact on this board, as he casts a Bane of Progress. He lets Fernando draw, and unfortunately this Bane isn't much of a nuisance, as Jimmy Force of Wills it, pitching a Snapcaster Mage, and paying for the heuristic. With Fernando milling Hidden again with his Shredder, and drawing and exiling off his own commander. Fernando has another island as land, and starts it off with a Sapphire Medallion. He then taps 4 for a Time Warp. But Jimmy has another response as he casts a Miscast, not paying the 1, to try and stop Fernando, who then looks for answers by tapping his commander to draw an exile, but doesn't find anything, and the Time Warp is countered. Jimmy untaps and wins his Crypt trigger. He then Sylvans and takes 8 to keep 2 extra cards. Jimmy thinks he has the win as he starts off with a Spring Leaf Drum, not paying the 1. He then heads to combat and sends the large Dino at Fernando for 7. Fernando blocks with his face, and on his second main, Jimmy gains 4 colors from Belbe, and activates the carpet for 4 blue, which he uses his floating mana on a Spell Seeker, paying for the heuristic, and tutoring up a Brain Freeze. And this is where movie magic comes into play, as there was at least another 10 minutes in this turn, while Jimmy found out if he actually had the win con, which he did, and originally he was going to try and win just by milling us out, but after Fernando told him he ran a shuffler, Jimmy couldn't win off the Brain Freeze and Underworld Breach. So instead, he won with a good old-fashioned Gutter Snipe to take his opponents out. Game review. Well damn, that does happen when you don't deal with Kalamax. It's a powerful commander if you can get it to actually attack. We do know that Fernando should have bounced Jimmy's commander instead of Hidden's Regal Behemoth, although Fernando did make the right play in countering Lutz's Grand Abolisher, as Lutz did admit after he did have the win in hand if it had resolved. As for Hidden, it was unfortunate he just never got the card advantage he needed, and with his tracker dying so early, he really wasn't able to get back into the game.
Hey guys, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I just wanted to let you know that we have a TCG affiliate link, and if you ever see a card you want to try or are inspired to brew something new, use our link when purchasing and we'll receive a small portion of the sale. This is a great way to support the channel, and if you enjoyed the gameplay, please leave a like and subscribe, as it really helps us keep making videos. And remember, never give up, even if you're dead on board. I'll see you guys later.